I never expected a $20 ticket to land me behind the stage, face to face with Hozier himself. 1 second, I was just another fan, and the next I was saying words I never thought I'd say out loud. I didn't plan for any of this. Honestly, I was just another broke 20-something trying to squeeze some joy out of a Friday night in Los Angeles. My buddy Maya texted me 3 days earlier, "Dude, Hozier is playing at the Greek. Cheap seat still left. Don't be boring." Cheap was relative. To me, $20 was still a sacrifice. That's gas for the week or a couple of sad burrito bowls. But Maya has this way of guilt-tripping me in 2 things. She once convinced me to drive to Joshua Tree at midnight, just to see the stars properly. I was cranky, but yeah, the stars were insane. So, I trusted her. We scored the kind of tickets where you're basically hugging the upper pine trees around the Greek theater. Nosebleed seats. You could see the whole city glittering beyond, but the stage looked like a toy. Still, I was hyped. Music live, you know? Even if you can barely see the dude's face, you feel it in your ribs. The evening started the way every show in LA starts. Endless Uber surge prices, parking chaos, sweaty lines at the gate. People wore everything from flower crowns to old band tees, and it smelled like sunscreen mixed with street tacos. I was half annoyed.
Now imagine what happens next. But before that, smash that like button and hit subscribe, cause the craziest part is just getting started.
Half excited. We grabbed drinks overpriced, obviously, and settled into our seats. Maya was already dancing to the house playlist before the lights even dimmed. I just sat there, trying not to think about how my bank account was screaming. Then it happened. The accident. The stupid little accident that changed my whole night. During intermission, got restless. I left Maya grooving by herself and wandered toward the lower concourse. I don't even know why, maybe to find a bathroom, or maybe just because I'm the kind of idiot who gets curious when he shouldn't. Down by the catering trucks, one of the guys carrying a stack of boxes tripped. Instinct kicked in. I lunged and caught the top one before it hit the pavement. The guy, sweating and juggling too much, just muttered, "Thanks, man. Drop it backstage. They'll know." Then he hurried off, leaving me holding a heavy plastic crate full of bottled water and fruit, and right there, swinging against the side of the crate, was a lanyard. A slightly bent badge. The words "Local Crew" printed in bold. I froze. My heart did that stupid rabbit thing, hammering against my chest. It was like a scene out of a movie where the universe puts temptation right in your hands. I could have set the box down and walked away. I should have, but I didn't. I slid the lanyard around my neck, gripped the crate tighter, and walked toward the backstage checkpoint like I owned the place. Now, here's the thing. Confidence is 90% of sneaking anywhere you're not supposed to be. Look tired, look rushed, look like someone's already yelling at you through a headset. That's what I told myself. The security guard at the gate, big guy, beard, looked like he bench-pressed fans for fun, stopped me. His badge said Reyes. "Local Crew?" he asked flatly. "Yeah," I said, trying not to squeak. "What set you on?" His eyes narrowed. My brain scrambled. What set? Shit. I blurted the first thing I remembered from the soundcheck chatter earlier in the evening. Loading for Downbeat, 5 before. Reyes stared at me for a second too long. I swear my knees were jelly. Then he grunted, stepped aside, and pointed me in. That's how I walked backstage at a Hozier concert. By accident. The shift was instant. 1 second you're a fan outside with plastic cups and buzzing crowd noise. The next, you're inside this humming hive. Cables snaked everywhere, crew members zipped by with headsets, and the air smelled like sawdust, coffee, and adrenaline. Giant black cases labeled Hozier Tour stacked along the wall. The music hadn't even started, but you could feel the energy brewing like a storm. I set the crate down on a folding table. No one questioned me. No one even looked twice. I was invisible, which is exactly what you want to be when you don't belong. I should have left right there, dropped the box, ditched the badge, sprinted back to Maya with some stupid excuse about long bathroom lines. That would have been the smart move. But I didn't leave. Something kept me rooted, the thrum of bass from the stage test, the chatter in walkie-talkies, the way people moved like clockwork. I wanted to see more, to feel more, and then, from somewhere deeper in the shadows. I heard it. A low voice, soft but unmistakable, warming up with a few lines of cherry wine. Hosier, the man himself. For a second, I thought I'd imagined it, but then he stepped into view, tall as hell, hair tied back loose, wearing some unassuming dark shirt. Just strolling by like this was a Tuesday in the park, and in that split second, his eyes flicked up. Just a casual glance, but they landed on me. I nodded, stupidly, like we were old coworkers. He nodded back, and holy hell, my whole body lit up. I was in. The thing about being backstage is it doesn't feel glamorous. At least, not in the way fans imagine. It's messy, chaotic, kind of gritty. But to me, standing there with my fake badge bouncing against my chest, it felt like I'd cracked some sacred code. Like I'd stepped behind the curtain of a magic trick, and now saw the gears turning. Crew members hustled past me, arms full of cables, boxes, and clipboards. A couple of people in headsets barked into their radios. 5 to lock in, copy. Drum kit tuned, copy. Everyone moved with purpose, no wasted motion. And me, I was a ghost, floating between them, praying nobody asked me to actually do anything. I kept my head down, hands shoved into my jacket pockets. My plan, if you could even call it, that was just to blend in long enough to soak this in. Maybe hang for a few minutes, then slip back out before I did something stupid. But then a woman in a sharp black blazer stopped in front of me. She had her hair tied in a tight knot, an iPad in one hand, and the kind of stare that could peel paint off a wall. "You, water runner?" she asked, briskly. My throat went dry. She tilted her head, impatient. "You dropped the crate, right? Great. They're asking for refills by Monitor World. Go." I nodded so fast my neck cracked. "Right. On it." She spun away before I could even object. And just like that, I had a job. So I grabbed a couple of bottles from the table, cradled them like they were VIP champagne, and headed toward the cluster of glowing screens and soundboards, Monitor World, as she'd called it. The deeper I walked, the louder everything got. The subwoofers were thumping through the floor, the air buzzing with feedback tests. A guy hunched over a massive console gave me a quick wave like I belonged. I slid the bottles onto a table, nodded back, and exhaled slowly. Okay, I was safe. For now. That's when I heard it again, that voice. Hosier. Not through speakers, not distant. Right there. I turned, and there he was. He was leaning against a case, casually strumming an unplugged guitar, muttering lines under his breath. It wasn't a performance. It was raw, private, almost absent-minded, and for some insane reason, froze like a deer in headlights. My brain screamed, "Don't stare, don't stare, don't stare." Of course, I stared. He caught me, his gaze lifted, those sharp blue-green eyes locking on mine for a beat. I panicked. My mouth moved before my brain did. "Sounded good," I blurted. He chuckled low, almost shy. "Hope so," he said, Irish accent curling around the words. Then he went back to picking at the strings. That was it. 3 seconds. But those 3 seconds felt like lightning in my veins. I drifted backward, pretending I had somewhere important to be, and nearly collided with Reyes, the security guard from earlier. "Watch yourself, crew," he grunted, steadying me with one giant paw. His eyes scanned me again, slower this time. "Suspicious." "Yeah, sorry," I muttered, ducking my head. As he moved on, my stomach clenched. The rush of being invisible was fading fast. I wasn't invisible at all. Reyes remembered me, and if he started asking the wrong questions, I was done. I slipped to the side of the stage, where a gap in the curtains let me peek out. The house was filling up, thousands of tiny phone lights already bobbing in the dark. From here, the Greek looked alive, like a giant breathing creature waiting to roar. For a moment, I let myself forget the fear. I just soaked it in. The smell of sweat and dust, the buzz of electricity in the cables, the low hum of voices. This wasn't just a concert. It was a machine, every piece working toward one perfect explosion. Then, a voice behind me. "Hey, what's your name?" I turned. The woman with the iPad, the manager, I guessed, was staring at me again. Her eyes sharp, calculating. My mouth went dry. A dozen fake names rushed into my head, but none stuck. Sam, I said finally. She tapped something on her screen. All right, Sam. Stick to water runs. Don't drift. Got it? I nodded, pulse hammering. As she walked away, I realized two things at once. One, I was in way over my head. Two, I wasn't leaving. Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't just a fan in the nosebleeds. I was standing where the magic was born, and I wasn't ready to give that up, not yet. If you've never been close to an artist you admire, let me tell you it's disorienting. You build up this idea of them in your head, untouchable, larger than life, some mythical creature who lives on stage lights and guitar riffs. Then suddenly, they're 10 feet away, tuning a guitar like it's just another day, and your brain short circuits. That's where I was, standing backstage, pretending to belong, when Hosier himself wandered closer. He wasn't even flanked by assistants or swarmed by chaos. Just him, one tech guy nearby adjusting cables, the rest of the crew busy elsewhere. He looked taller up close, lean, almost awkward in the way tall guys sometimes are when they're trying not to take up space. His hair was tied loosely, and he wore this plain dark shirt with the sleeves rolled. He didn't look like a star. He looked like some dude who might be grading papers in a Dublin cafe. And then, without warning, his eyes flicked to me again. Direct. Curious. You're new, he said, not unkindly. My throat closed. Every nerve in my body screamed. Lie better than you've ever lied before. Yeah, I croaked. First show on this run. He smiled a little, strumming an idle chord. Tough gig. First nights. Chaos everywhere. I nodded so hard my neck hurt. My hands were clammy, my legs stiff, but somehow was still standing there. And then God help me, I did the one thing I swore I wouldn't. I spoke from the heart. You know, I started, voice shaking. Your song. Take me to church. It was the only thing that kept my mom going for a while. She was sick, and I don't know why, but she played it every morning, like clockwork. Said it gave her hope. The words just spilled out, raw, unpolished, embarrassing. My eyes burned, and I wanted to swallow them back, but they were already hanging in the air between us. He stopped strumming, really stopped. His whole face softened. What's her name? He asked quietly. Anna, I whispered. Hosier nodded, like he was tucking the name somewhere safe. Tell Anna I said keep fighting, and tell her thank you for letting the music in. That means more than you know. It was so simple. No theatrics, no fake empathy, just steady, genuine kindness. I stood there, frozen, not knowing what to do with my hands. For a second, I forgot I was trespassing, forgot the badge, forgot Reyes, forgot everything. It was just me and him, human to human. Then the spell broke. A crackle on a radio, band to stage. 2 minutes. The manager with the iPad appeared again, scanning the area. Her eyes landed on me. Sam, right? She said sharply. My heart thudded. Yeah, I stammered. Who's your lead? Who signed you in? Panic ripped through me. I didn't have an answer. My fake badge suddenly felt like a neon sign around my neck. Hosier looked between us, sensing something off. I started. Reyes, the security guard, appeared like a ghost, arms crossed. His stare drilled through me. Local crew, huh? Funny, I don't remember your face from check-in. I wanted to melt into the floor. My pulse roared in my ears. One wrong word and I was done, tossed out, humiliated, maybe even banned. But then Hosier, of all people, stepped in. He was helping with water, he said casually, like it wasn't a big deal. His tone carried weight, soft, but final. He's all right. The manager hesitated, then gave me one last piercing look. Fine. Stick to runs. Don't drift. She turned and vanished again into the chaos. Reyes lingered a beat longer, then grunted. Don't push your luck, kid. He walked off too. I exhaled so hard my chest ached. My legs wobbled. Somehow, impossibly, I'd survived. I glanced back at Hosier. He gave me the tiniest nod. Not a smile, not a wink, just a nod that said, I see you. You're safe for now. And in that moment, something hit me harder than the fear. Gratitude. Gratitude that this stranger, this man whose music had carried me through nights I thought would never end, had just given me 5 minutes of truth and maybe saved me from myself. But deep down, I knew this wasn't over, because the more time I spent back here, the higher the chances I'd get caught. And the higher the stakes became, the less I wanted to leave. The moment the manager vanished, my whole body wanted to collapse. It felt like I'd just been yanked out of a riptide, lungs burning, barely standing. And yet, the insanity of it all, I still wasn't ready to walk away. The lights dimmed, the crowd outside roared like thunder, and the whole backstage area shifted gears. Everyone snapped into formation, stagehands darting, guitars being tuned, and ear monitors checked. The hum of 1,000 details syncing together. And me, I was still there, stupid badge swinging, still pretending I belong. Lena, the manager, I finally caught her name on the iPad screen, passed by again. She didn't stop this time, but her eyes lingered on me for just a second. A silent warning. I felt it like ice down my back. You're on borrowed time. I drifted toward the side of the stage, where a black folding chair sat unused, half hidden behind a stack of cases. From there, I could see everything: the stage glowing in blue wash lights, the silhouettes of the band walking out, the wall of sound exploding as the crowd recognized Hozier. The music hit like a wave. First chords, first lyrics, the Greek trembling under thousands of voices singing back. And I realized I wasn't in the cheap seats anymore. I was here, inside the heartbeat of it all. But guilt started crawling in too. This wasn't my place. I hadn't earned it. I'd stolen it. I rubbed my palms against my jeans, mind racing. Should I confess? Slip out before Reyes noticed again? Or should I just ride this madness to the end? Consequences be damned. That's when Hozier, mid-song, stepped near the wings. For a fraction of a second, his eyes swept over the crew and landed on me again. And there it was, the nod. Small, barely noticeable, but it felt like permission. Or maybe a test. I couldn't tell which. Behind me, Reyes' voice rumbled low. Don't move around. Stay put. I didn't argue. I couldn't. I just sat in that folding chair, adrenaline coursing through me, torn between two truths. One, I was living the dream, closer than I ever imagined. Two, any second, this dream could shatter, and I'd be tossed back into the crowd where I belong. And honestly, that tension, that knife's edge, made every note hit harder. From the side of the stage, the concert didn't look like it did from the seats. It wasn't polished or choreographed, it was raw. You saw the sweat dripping down the drummer's neck, the frantic hand signals between guitar techs, the subtle nod Hozier gave before hitting a chorus. And yet, even with all the chaos, it felt holy. The crowd was deafening. Thousands of strangers moving as one, singing every word, their voices washing over the stage like waves. My whole chest buzzed from the bass. But it wasn't just sound, it was a shared heartbeat. I sat frozen in that folding chair, half hiding, half entranced. My stomach twisted with guilt, but my eyes refused to blink. This was a view fans would kill for, and here I was, stealing it. Hozier's voice soared through the night, that deep, aching tone carving straight into me. At one point, he sang Cherry Wine, and the lyrics cut so close I thought about my mom again. I pictured her in the kitchen, humming softly with her coffee, believing that music was proof she wasn't done fighting. And then I realized I wasn't just here for me. This wasn't just trespassing or a lucky accident. In some twisted way, I was carrying her here too. I clenched my fists, fighting the urge to cry. Beside me, Reyes kept his usual stone face, but every now and then, caught him glancing my way. Not angry, just watchful, like he hadn't decided yet if I deserved to stay or not. The set roared on, song after song, lights flashing, crowd screaming. And I thought, if they drag me out right now, I'll still never forget this. Ever? Because sometimes, even stolen moments feel like the truest ones. When the last chord rang out and the house lights flared, the roar of the crowd felt like an earthquake. People screamed, whistled, stomped, begging for one more song. Backstage, though, it was different. Controlled chaos. Crew running like clockwork. The machine winding down. I stayed glued to that folding chair, hands sweating, heart still racing. Reyes finally tapped my shoulder. Show's over, kid. Time to head out. His tone wasn't hostile, but it wasn't negotiable either. I nodded, stood, and followed him down the narrow hallway that smelled of sweat and coffee. My chest felt hollow. The night of a lifetime was ending, and soon, only just another nobody spilling onto Franklin Avenue. But then it happened. As we neared the exit, someone brushed past me, slipping something into my palm so quick, I almost missed it. A folded scrap of paper. No one looked back. Outside, under the glow of the Greek theater marquee, I unfolded it with shaky fingers. 5 words, written in quick, messy handwriting. Tell Anna, keep the light on. That was it. No signature, no explanation, just that line. I stood there, street noise buzzing around me, trying to breathe. Was it Hosier? Was it the manager, softening the edges of my trespass? Maybe Reyes himself, doing me one last kindness? I'll never know. But I called my mom right there on the sidewalk. She answered groggy, her voice scratchy. "Ma," I said, voice cracking. I think I have a message for you." I read the words aloud. Silence stretched on the line. Then a shaky laugh, half sob, broke through. "You're serious?" she whispered. "Yeah," I said, eyes burning. And for the first time in months, she sounded lighter, stronger. I hung up, staring back at the theater, the crowd spilling out, the posters plastered on the walls. Part of me still wondered if I'd crossed a line, if I'd stolen something that wasn't mine. But another part knew. Sometimes, the universe doesn't care about rules. Sometimes it just hands you a moment and dares you to hold on. And me, I was holding on.